hear that same song again. If I hear the same song, I might go insane. Because it's a small, the same thing I'm hearing. That now it have a better day coming. But anyhow that I look around, oh yeah. I see the whole world heading for destruction. Oh yeah. People committing crime.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to The Movement. This is a program organized by the People's Action Movement, giving listeners at home and in the diaspora an opportunity to engage and interact with the candidates that would be representing that party in the upcoming general elections in St. Kitts and Nevis. This is the third edition. We have had two so far. The first one was represented by the political leader of PAM, Sean Richards. Last week, of course, we had the deputy political leader, Lindsay Grant. And this morning, we have at least for now, the lone female candidate that has been recently announced, Mrs. Natasha Grey-Brookes. Of course, my name is Laverne Keynes, and I shall host this show, which will last until 12 o'clock. And to remind that your calls are included at 11:15 for 45 minutes. So, and if there is any matter that comes up that you want to get clarified, if you have questions for the candidate, then we ask you please make your notes in the meantime so that when that time is due, we would give the indication to you. So this morning we have a lady who, people are saying that she has been warming up to political life, since the campaign has not started in earnest yet, but you probably would have seen her on the political platforms a couple of times. As I said earlier, her name is Natasha Grey-Brookes. She has held positions of General Secretary and Treasurer at the executive level of the People's Action Movement. And as I was doing my research a moment ago, she is also the current treasurer of the Caribbean Institute of Women in Leadership, CIWIL. There is a St. Kitts chapter. I guess she would let you know later on whether or not this was one of the reasons why she segued into elective politics. But I want us all to welcome her, and I would give her the opportunity now to make a few opening remarks, and afterwards I would engage her. And of course, as I said, you too would have the opportunity to engage her at 11:15 when we open the lines. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us on The Movement. Now, Natasha, if I'm permitted to call it that, can I? Sister to sister.
Sure you can.
We want to hear from you now in your opening remarks. Welcome.
A pleasant good morning, Laverne, and thank you for having me here on The Movement. I would like to say a special good morning to all those listening via radio and other platforms on social media, and a special good morning to my constituents in constituency number 1. I am happy to be here on the third edition of The Movement. I know the past two editions, the leader of our party and the deputy political leader, the Honorable Sean Richards and Honorable Lindsay Grant, respectively, were the guests. And so I am now here as the third guest on the show. I am happy to be here. I know that they have made a significant mark so far on the program, and I hope that whatever contribution I make today would help to grow the program and to help to create awareness for not just my constituents, but persons within the entire country of St. Kitts Nevis. As Laverne would have indicated, my name is Natasha Grey-Brookes. I am the candidate for East Bastille. I am also a proud Newtowner. However, I embrace the entire East Bastille community as my home, as that is the home that I have known from birth. And so I am one who is very proud of my roots. I am an attorney at law. I also have my chambers located right in East Bastille, right next to the home that I grew up in. And so I have not departed from where I started. And so I am very proud of where I am, where I came from. I am a mother of two, and I have a son who's 23 years old and a baby girl who's 2 months. And I am a proud wife of Mr. Charles Brooks. Natasha Grey-Brookes is a daughter of the soil. And even though some persons may only know the name, I hope by the time that we have completed this show and we go a little bit more into the election campaign, I would not only become a household name, but I would be able to form some impression on some of the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis. I attended the Morris Hillier Memorial Junior School, known as Epworth School, and then I went on to the junior high school and the Bastille High School. I finished high school at the age of 15, and at that point, I had a choice of going to sixth form, and I decided I wanted to work. And so I joined the workforce from the tender age of 15 years old. I worked with Richard Keynes in his office, BC Auto Parts, and Keynes Rent-A-Car for a period of 10 years. So from 1997 to 2007, I would have taken up employment with Richard Keynes, who helped to mold me into the individual I am, hardworking, committed, and determined individual. And then after that, I carried out my studies. So I left St. Kitts in 2007 to pursue a legal career. I would have left my son, who was 9 years at that point, in the care of my aunt, and I went to England to pursue the career that I know I'm very proud to work in. I not only see my profession as a profession, I see it as part of me because it helps me to help others and to provide a service to the community. And so I think even though I would have pursued that career path when one would have thought it was for yourself, I see it as something that helps to benefit the country on a whole. And so I am very proud to not just provide that service within my community, but also to assist others where I can, those who are not in a position to help themselves. And basically, that is Natasha Shani Grey-Brookes in a nutshell. I have been practicing as an attorney at law since 2012. As Laverne would have indicated, I am currently the General Secretary of the People's Action Movement. I also would have held previous posts on the National Executive, which would have been the Assistant General Secretary, the Treasurer, as well as the Deputy Chairperson. And I would have also held a number of posts within the East Bastille constituency for a number of years, which would have included the Deputy Chairperson and the Secretary. And I was also very intimately involved in a number of election cycles with some of our candidates. And I would have also been part of the selection committee for choosing our candidates in 2015. And so politics is something that I love to offer myself in. I have not shied away from any responsibilities when it comes to politics because I see it as an avenue to help persons. I see it as an avenue to make a better community. And I think when persons commit themselves to the bettering of the society, it is something that helps their growth and development, and it brings about a proud nation. I know Laverne would have mentioned that carrying out her research, she recognized that I was the treasurer for the civil group. However, there was a new elections recently, and so they have a new executive. I am still a part of the group. And so I have served as the treasurer from 2020 to 2022. And so that has been a rewarding experience for me. It is a group that is made up of a number of political parties, and it is also a regional group, and it helps to mold our women into becoming leaders in society. I know sometimes persons would discourage women from getting involved in leadership positions, whether it is because of the fact that they have responsibilities with their family or they're trying to achieve certain things in life. And so they ask them to shy away. But I think that women are capable of balancing some of the most challenging experiences in life. And we also provide a softer touch to some of the issues that our society face. And with women in government and leadership positions, I think that our country would be on the right path. I'm not in any way saying that the work that the men has done in our society is not significant. It is, but the right balance has to be struck. And I am very happy to be on the campaign trail with the People's Action Movement. I am very happy to provide myself for the people of Constituency Number 1, and I look forward after the next general election to being their next parliamentary representative.
Thank you, Natasha. That was quite a mouthful to get us going. And I think those people in the audience who may not have heard of you before, and we're on the social media platforms, so now they're getting to see you. I think that would give them a good picture of who you are. Because the funny thing in politics, I think there is this perhaps undue pressure on a female, and you almost have to become a salesperson. You almost have to sell yourself, and in a way that people warm up to you, they could relate to you, which doesn't necessarily happen when you're a male. And I think that if that is the case, from my assessment sitting here, you did a good job of selling who Natasha Grey-Brookes is. So you're the candidate. You have been announced as a candidate for East Bastia constituency number 1.
Yes.
Now you are only the fourth woman in the history of the party, a party that is over 50 years old. This is 2022. What took the party so long to, or perhaps in my estimation, they're still lagging behind in terms of the number of women over the years, over that 50 plus year cycle that have represented women in politics. Let me, for full information, just give the names of those women who have represented the People's Action Movement in politics. There's a Mary Charles George, after whom the hospital in Molyneux has been named. There is Constance Vimijum of the 80s vintage. You know, we have heard about all of the achievements that she made for women in politics and in government. Then before you, which was probably maybe 10 years or more ago, there was Jonelle Rollins, and now Natasha Grey-Brookes. So effectively, in the history of a party that is over 50 years, you are only the fourth woman candidate, the fourth female candidate. Is this something that you think needs to be changed?
Laverne, I think that the party is very supportive of women. Women have always been the backbone of our political party. We have a strong women's arm. I think some of our women tend to shy away from the leadership role, maybe because of some of the negative comments and the hard criticism, harsh criticism of our society. And so some women stay in the background and they support our men. I don't think it is a situation where the party would not like to embrace women as part of their team. But I am happy to be the fourth one who's taking up this role. I welcome, I have always supported women. I welcome other women to take up these types of positions in our party because our country needs us. I think there needs to be some sort of legislation or policy in place whereby there should be a quota when it comes to women representation. And this is not to say that the men cannot do the job, but there must be a balance. There must be equality of arms. And I don't think we have reached that stage as yet. I would love to see the day when we have a woman prime minister. I would be happy if I am the woman prime minister. And so I would encourage my leader and my colleagues to continue to support women, to continue to build them and strengthen them and empower them and let them know that their voice matters. Let them know that they too can make a decision and also be part of that decision-making process, not just for the party, but for the country. And so whenever a woman steps forward, encourage her, continue to strengthen her, and also have programs in place whereby you educate our women about policies, educate our women about politics, and prepare them for elective politics, because sometimes they just need that help and that push. And I am glad for the support that I have gotten, and I wish that more women can step forward on behalf of the People's Action Movement. I know we have 2 more candidates to announce. I would be happy if one of them is a woman. I don't want to be the lone female, but if I am, I'm willing to carry on the mantle for our women.
Thank you for that response. We'll be holding you to that. We're going to take a break now, catch our breath a little bit, and then come back with more interaction with candidate for constituency number 1, Mrs. Natasha Grey-Brookes. This is The Movement.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are solely those of the participant or caller and do not reflect the views of WinFM 98.9. WinFM reserves the right to disconnect any caller who infringes the law or offends the right of any person. The station will also refuse to take any call from any person who, in WinFM's considered opinion, is likely to expose the station to liability for statements made on the air.
Not gonna stop till the battle is won and we get justice. Cause if you lose your stand, anyone will try to push you over and over. Lift up your head and hold it up high. We know that we'll win the prize. Lift up your
Welcome back. You are listening to The Movement. This is a program that has been organized by the People's Action Movement as a runner-up to the elections, which are due sometime soon. Everybody's fingers, have been crossed for a while, but we would see and hear of the date shortly, we hope. And so this program is meant for you to get a little close-up of the candidates of the People's Action Movement, hear who they are, and also provide an opportunity for you to engage them, because you really can't do so when they're speaking from the platform, and perhaps, it would be impossible to touch everybody one-on-one, even as they're canvassing and all of that good stuff. So we hope that you would make full use of this occasion to share your concerns, pose your questions to the candidates as they appear on this 2-hour show that has been organized by the party. We're talking today with Natasha Grey-Brookes, the candidate for constituency number 1, East Bastille. So she just gave us a little background of who she is, her education, her profession, her family life, her interest in politics and all of that. And now I want to ask something that perhaps is on the minds of people who pay close attention to politics. So yes, you have put up your hand to be a candidate, brave soul you are, and you are in the throes now of campaigning. But the next thing now, should your party win, we have seen people have commented in the past that some of the portfolios that have been given to women in politics have been, I don't know, token portfolios, and it has. I don't know if that has been one of the things that has caused women to stand back a little bit, because it is felt that there is not the level of confidence that is reposed in a woman as a cabinet member. And so I don't know if that is something that you share, that is a view that you share, getting ready for politics, for your very first outing in politics as well. I'm not sure if you want to expound on that view.
Well, I have, I've heard that view expressed by a number of persons. Sometimes you've actually seen it play out in terms of how portfolios are distributed. I think a woman can accomplish anything that she sets her mind to. And I don't think that she should be given a portfolio simply because she's a woman, or simply because you don't think she will be up to the task or challenge in what you would see as a difficult ministry. So women should be given the opportunities to be front runners. They should be given the opportunities to deal with challenges. So put women in any ministry that you think needs some sort of help. Put a woman in a ministry that she can make the necessary contributions to the ministry as well as the country. And so I am open to any ministry. I am also open to having a discussion with my leader and my colleagues once our party is successful in terms of the ministries and portfolios that I would like to see myself in. And I don't think because that I'm a lawyer, I should be given Ministry of Legal Affairs or Attorney General. I also think I have enough knowledge and experience in life and the life experiences to be able to contribute to any ministry. We have a Ministry of Health that needs revamping. We have a Ministry of Education that needs some serious inroads so that our youth can be empowered, our youth can be able to contribute significantly to our society. And I can perform in any ministry. I am somebody who is willing to learn. I am determined. And I know that there are a number of persons within the civil service who are willing to teach and who are willing to guide persons. And so I am open to be fulfilling any portfolio. I also have a love for improving the lives of persons. And so where people would say that our public infrastructure may need some help, I want to be able to pat myself on the back and say, well, I helped to create a better community in not just in East Bastille, but throughout the entire federation. We have water woes in different communities. I want to be able to say that I would have contributed to helping persons to get rid of some of the problems that they have in our country, in Keon, in Shadwell, in Bird Rock. And so I am fully prepared to take on any ministry. I don't want to be given something simply because I am a woman. So, Mr. Leader, if you are listening, I do not want gender affairs because I could deal with all the affairs of our country.
Thank you, Shani. Thank you. I think, you just made the call to action there. If he's listening, I hope he is listening and has in fact taken a note of that, because, as I said, it's something that has been commented on for many election cycles when the portfolio assignments are given. But we may have gone ahead of ourselves, because for that to happen, you have to do the work.
That is
and
true.
So I want you to tell me how that work is going. I want you to tell me, as you as you canvass in the constituency, number one, what are people saying? Are there any peculiar challenges that you are encountering? And how do you plan to deal with these challenges?
Laverne, the canvassing has been a great experience. It is one that I continue to learn every day as I go out. Now, my canvassing in terms of me as the candidate, it only started fully in April, after I would have, the end of April rather, after I would have been given the all clear by my doctor, because as persons would know, I recently gave birth. And so I would have had my team out. They have been doing some canvassing on my behalf. But the reality is persons want to see the candidates. And so I have been going from door to door in the different polling divisions. I have tried to do it in such a way that my presence is felt in different areas on different days, and so that I am not sticking in one particular area for a week or 2 weeks, because the time is short. I have had to condense my campaigning and canvassing into a 2 to 3 month cycle. And so I have to be creative, very creative. There are a number of things that I have in mind in terms of reaching some of the constituents if I am unable to meet them face to face. And so I will be implementing those things very shortly, because this is a unique campaign and we have to be able to meet the needs of the constituents. And so whilst I'm out, I've been hearing the concerns. Some of the concerns that I've been hearing is the fact that certain areas within the constituency have been neglected for a number of years. And so I have heard some of the cries of my constituents. I have noted them, and where there are things that they need to be able to do in relation to specific applications, I try to guide them in the process. There are a number of persons who feel that the election came a bit too soon. And that is something that I have to address, because we had elections in 2020, and we're now in 2022. So based on the series of town hall meetings that our party have conducted over the past weeks, and the information that has been placed before the country by my colleagues, I have been able to explain certain things to them. And having given that explanation, persons are now a little bit more aware as to what has been transpiring, and they have now understood why we are here and why a certain move had to be made. And so I continue to listen the needs and the concerns of the constituents. Not every area would have the same issues. And so whilst carrying out my canvassing, I ensure that I engage. I ensure that I always make sure that I have the necessary information, contact information to follow up if there's a need to follow up. Now, one of the things that I have to recognize in this campaign, although I personally feel it is a straight fight between PAM and Labour, there are at least 3 parties that are contesting the election. And so, whereas you were more or less focused on the PAM voters, the Labour voters, and those who you can sway either way, there is a third party in the mix, but you have to understand your constituents. You have to understand the issues that they face. And once that understanding it comes out, once you understand what the requirements are, what the needs are, and the things that you have to address, then you put your policies and plans in place. And regardless of whether there are 2 or 3 parties or even an independent person contesting the election, and election is about numbers, and you set your targets and you do the necessary groundwork, I have no doubt that I would come out victorious out of these elections, because I have been someone who have been intimately involved in elections before. And so even though this is my first shot as a candidate, the canvassing is nothing new to me. The campaigning is nothing new to me. And I understand how it is to break down your targets for each polling division and know exactly what you have to do in order to meet those targets. And so I am prepared, whether the elections is in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, to continue right down until election day to ensure that all the votes that I need are counted. And I will continue to engage my constituents. In fact, one of the things that I am looking forward to is a debate. I would like to debate the issues because I think that I am well prepared to put my policies forward, my plans for East Bastia forward, and I challenge all my opponents, all of them. So any association, any NGO that is willing to facilitate this debate, I am prepared, and I am hoping that my colleagues on the People's Action Movement would also do the same thing in the other constituencies. But even if they are not, I am prepared to do it in East Bastia, and I take up the challenge. So if it is, I can find the necessary organization who will be willing to facilitate it. I will write my opponents. I will write them very soon and let them know. Let us set a date. Let us be prepared to argue the issues, because people must know what we are offering. People must not be bought and think that their vote is something that is not important, because your voice is your vote. And I appreciate the opportunity at this point where persons can call in, but even if they are not listening and they have a burning issue and they want that issue to be addressed and they want someone to tackle it, I am willing to put myself in a forum that I would be open to my entire constituency, so that anybody who is undecided, anybody who has a burning issue, would be able to have that issue dealt with or answered in a proper manner, so that they can be an informed voter on election day.
Thank you. Thank you for that pellucid exposition. You made a statement that you understand your constituents. And I've also heard you say in other fora that perhaps your constituency might be the most diverse of all the constituencies, running from East 4th Street all the way to the peninsula. So you're talking about, so you have the fisherman, the farmer, the industrial site worker, the business worker, the banker, the CEO, you have quite a mix of demographic and profession in that constituency. And so it means that you also have to cater to the needs of these people in that constituency. So perhaps this is a good time for you to share. And I deliberately waited until now to ask that question, because I know that unlike the other candidates who were on this platform before, this is your first foray into politics. And so you don't have any legacy matters that you can point to as having done and completed. So what can the good people of constituency number 1 expect you, the representative of PAM, to do in terms of their own the development? People seem to shift with the tide. There's some people in politics who expect, well, if the country develops in a way where I get an opportunity, it's quite okay. And the others who say, well, I need a job, I need something personal. So what are your overall plans for the constituency?
Well, Laverne, I agree with you. I don't have a legacy as such in terms of comparing to my colleagues. However, during my short stint here on Earth, I have been able to make a contribution to my community. As a lawyer, I offer my services. I am not just all about making money, and so when possible and persons are not in a financial position, I offer pro bono work. As a resident and a constituent of East Bastille, I love to see my people thrive. And so I have implemented a number of programs, social programs, such as the East Bastille Soup Kitchen, the 5 to Stay Alive, which is a food drive, and I also have the East Bastille Book Club. I also have involved myself in a number of community cleanup projects, and I believe in the beautification of East Bastille. I would have installed some benches in December, I think it was, on the Newtown Bay Road, and that is a phase 1 approach of my view in terms of beautifying the East Bastille area. Now, some of the things that I would like to see in East Bastille would include the creation of a council so that persons do not have to go through the challenge of not being able to touch base with their parliamentary representative, so that different areas would have a councillor or maybe 2 or 3, depending on the size, to deal with some of the issues within that particular area and be able to assist when necessary, so that the parliamentary representative who may not be available at all times still has someone working on their behalf and working on behalf of the community, because it is not just about Natasha Grey-Brookes, it is about the constituency. I believe in an inclusive approach. And so that is one of the things that I would like to see going forward, that we have community councillors. I would also like to see the enhancement of the Newtown Playfield and the Bird Rock basketball complex, so that we can have proper sporting facilities for our young people. I would also like to see them renamed so that persons who have contributed to our sporting society, sporting community, are recognized. One of the things that I would also like to see is the establishment of a resource center for single mothers. Oftentimes you find that some mothers have challenges, not just because they are a single mother, but because life in and of itself produces some hurdles for persons, and without the necessary support system, they are unable to overcome those hurdles. And I find if we can provide a center to assist women and to assist single parents, we would be able to create a better community, a stronger community, not just for these women and their children, but for future generations. Because it would be such a lovely thing that a mother who has to hold down 2 jobs has someone to assist their child or children with homework while she is out trying to be able to make ends meet. Sometimes women, which is something that I don't really condone, but you find that parents have to give their children money every day to go to school for lunch, because some persons may not have the skills in terms of cooking. And so if this center can help to enhance skills and create some of the talents that the hidden talents that persons never knew they had, then this is something that I would want to see to help our community grow. We have a number of youths in our society who, for one reason or the other, may have fell by the wayside. And I think once they have a support system, because this resource center is not just about children who are going to school, but persons who may have not been able to complete their schooling, for some maybe because they are not academically inclined, but maybe they may have some form of skill which they were unable to develop whilst in school, and this center can be a stepping stone for them to be able to produce some of the hidden talents that they never knew they had. Now, it's not just about our young people. I also want to be able to lend a helping hand to our senior citizens. Oftentimes, you hear of stories where an elderly person lives by themselves and they don't have anyone visiting them. Sometimes somebody maybe drops off some food for them and that is it. They have nobody that they can communicate with. They have no one who will take them out to see a different scenery. Some people are confined to their homes because they don't have a support system or anyone to just be there for them. And I want to be able to establish in East Bastille a senior citizens daycare center, one that would be able to help to keep our elderly people, help to keep them alive, help to keep them vibrant, and let them know that people care about them. Many persons go to work and leave their mothers and they don't have anyone to care for them. And so sometimes you go to work, you don't know if that person even eats the food that is left there for them. Some of them may be immobile, and so no one to help to take them to the bathroom or anything like that. And the children, maybe they can't afford to put them in one of those homes. And so I think the government ought to offer that service and be able to care more for those persons who have already contributed to our society. I believe in empowerment. I believe in entrepreneurship. And I want to see some of those skills that East Bastille have, I want to see them developed. Many persons have been unable to develop those skills just because they don't have the proper support system. They don't have the access to opportunities to be able to enhance those skills. Not everyone can basically perform in a job that they have no, I would say, some persons, they are forced to work in a job because they want to be able to get some income, but it's not something that they necessarily like. And you find because they are not, they don't really like that area, you find their performance is not the best. And so you don't get the best, the true potential of that individual. And they may have a skill that they have been toying with in their mind, but they don't have access to the necessary resources to be able to develop that skill and to bring it into an idea, an innovative idea that becomes their own. And I want to be able to empower persons to be entrepreneurs, because not everyone would be the person who would just go and be the secretary, the lawyer, the doctor, or the cashier, the sales clerk. There are ideas that can grow our economy. There are ideas that can develop our country. And we need to be able to provide the necessary avenues and address those specific needs head on to grow our community. And these are things that I would agitate for. I have a number of ideas, not just for the country, but things that I think would be able to help to boost our economy, and persons can pattern. Other countries can use our ideas to pattern off of. I know in our community, sometimes in maybe Bird Rock, and I think there's a part of Taylor's that we have unnamed streets. And so I want that to continue. I want our persons to be able to identify a particular area with precision, not just that Natasha lives Bird Rock. It has to be this street or that street. So at least we can be able to provide proper directions and also be able to continue to grow our communities. I want to see children's play parks developed, not just in the Newtown area, Ponds Extension area, but Taylor's, Bird Rock, and so that our children can feel that they can have opportunities to bond with their parents and be able to grow and enjoy what our country has to offer. Because sometimes we have children who just grow up behind television and games. But that is not all. Some of them don't even know about some of the traditional games like Mississippi and hopscotch. And even though a play park is not limited to swings and slides, we can provide an avenue whereby some of the games that our parents would have played in the olden days would have played, so that these children can now learn these games and be familiar with some of their history. And there are a number of things that I want to see. I want to see the community festivals revitalized, and I would continue to ensure that whatever plans I have for East Bastia is one of inclusiveness, because no one should be left behind. Our community should be one that everybody feels included and no one feels as if they are sidestepped because of the particular area that they live in.
Thank you. Thank you. That was quite a mouthful in terms of what your plans are, and I am certain that they would be eventually chronicled in the party's manifesto, which would then become your commitment to the people. And oftentimes these very ideas that a candidate espouses on the platform, or even now, are really ideas from the people that you just put into writing and hopefully honor that commitment to the people. So I believe that people would be expecting, if you say it, you would commit to it. So thank you very much for sharing what your thoughts are. We're going to take a short break now, and then when we come back, I want you to think about how the creation of a council that you're proposing can perhaps dovetail into the constituency fund, about which the leader spoke at an event a few days ago. So I want you to give that some thought, but we'll come right back. You are listening to The Movement on Win FM.
Stop till the battle is won and we get justice. Cause if you lose your stand, anyone will try to push you over and over. Lift up your head and hold it up high. We know that we'll win the prize. Lift up your head and
The views and opinions expressed in this program are solely those of the participant or caller and do not reflect the views of WinFM 98.9. WinFM reserves the right to disconnect any caller who infringes the law or offends the right of any person. The station will also refuse to take any call from any person who, in WinFM's considered opinion, is likely to expose the station to liability for statements made on the air.
Welcome back to The Movement. This is a program that has been organized by the People's Action Movement, one of the parties in St. Kitts and Nevis, vying for the federal elections that are due anytime before August the 3rd, the 4th, is it?
I think it's the 8th.
The 8th. I'm bringing the dates forward now, could you imagine? And so the party is using this platform to showcase its candidates, if you will, and to give them the opportunity to sell themselves to the listening audience. We thank you so much for listening. We know that this is the heart of your work period, and we trust that if you're listening at work, if you can, you're listening from a headset so you don't disturb the office. We are speaking today with Natasha Grey-Brookes, the new woman on the block, if you will, for constituency number 1, East Bastia. she just shared with us before we took the break some of the policies and plans that she is hoping to effect when she gets into office. And hopefully these would make their way into the party's manifesto, which I can imagine is probably well into the works. And so if she's giving these commitments, I want you to make note of them so that she ought to be able to deliver on what she has committed to. So thank you very much for staying with us and listening so far. Before we took the break, I asked her to develop, if you will, the idea of the creation of a council and how that can fit into what the party's leader recently spoke about in terms of a constituency fund, having a fund available from which the constituency development can tap into for financing. So I want Ms. Brookes to just join up these two things for me, because I actually like the idea of a community council, because a minister has a full plate in any 8-day hour in the office. And so if somebody who is responsible can be the bridge between him and the constituents, not that you don't want the constituents to interact with the minister directly, but sometimes I well imagine as human beings you can be overwhelmed. And so the whole idea of a council is one that really should be espoused across the board to take some of that load, some of that pressure from the parliamentarian. So could you just expound on that for us, please, in terms of the creation of a council and how this whole constituency fund could benefit the constituency?
I think, Laverne, that both of them can work hand in hand with each other, because even though the Constituency Development Fund is created, it still has to be managed, and having the councillors in place, that may help to be able to provide that connect between the government and the people. And so, the member of parliament and the people. Let me correct myself. The member of parliament and the people. As you correctly said, that being a member of parliament, you may have a lot on your plate. And so you have to be able to balance, especially if you are in government, you have to balance carrying out the jobs of the job of the country and your ministerial portfolio, but you still have to remember that you represent the people. And having the community council can basically bridge that gap, because oftentimes you hear the complaints that I can't see my representative, I can't get this thing done, I want help to be able to get something rectified in the community, even if it is a street light, a road fix, something that needs to be repaired in the community. The council will be able to bridge that gap. Now, that, in my mind, would help to be able to properly carry out the aims of the Constituency Development Fund, whereby members of parliament can now have that designated funding to assist the community and deal with different projects within the community. Now, as I would have heard my leader indicated, this is not just a fund for those members of parliament who are in government, but those who would have won their seats and still have a constituency to represent. And so I think I promote that idea because it helps to develop the communities on a constituency level, and it helps to grow the country on a whole. And I think it creates stronger bonds between the parliamentary representative and the constituents. It brings them closer together, and it improves the delivery of the service that parliamentary representatives are supposed to give to its people. And so I would endorse that initiative by the party leader, because we want to be able to create that strong safety net for our communities. And I look forward to having both of them implemented and show persons within the country that this is something that would be for the betterment of all.
Good. Thank you. I want us to dial back a little bit about women in politics, on the whole issue of women in politics, there was a forum in St. Vincent that was organized by, I guess, the civil arm of women in St. Vincent. And the theme caught my attention. It said, democracy is better when women participate. How do you feel about that statement?
I think that statement is very fitting because it helps to be able to show the equality amongst our men and women, and it gives persons a better insight in terms of how productive our women can be from the front, not just from behind. Because sometimes when you see a project being implemented in a particular community or country, the men get the credit for it because they are the front runners. But when you have to delve into that particular project and you basically start to dissect and see where all the different hands started to play, and you recognize the majority of them are women. And so if it is a woman can assist and help to make a man look marvelous in the eyes of society, I think they in the front line they can be able to show how our country can benefit from women leadership, and the ideas that are implemented or put into play, that with a touch, the feminine touch, it would show that our country can get things done, and we don't necessarily have to do them in a manner which is divisive. And I'm not saying that men are divisive, but you just sometimes need that the different outlook on things, because women who have a softer side may be able to get some of the results achieved, but dealing with them from a different angle. And so I promote women strongly, and I don't just want us to be pitied because we are women. We have proven ourselves time and time again. Sometimes we even have to do it in leaps and bounds just to show that we can accomplish things. But I don't want anybody to sorry for me or any other female just because we are women. I believe that women have earned their right in society. They have earned their right at the leadership table, and the time is right for us to be able to have an equal footing as our male counterparts, because together we can build a better St. Kitts Nevis.
I'm going to stay on that general topic and ask you, if in fact you are the sole female in a cabinet of males, how do you intend to soften the egos and perhaps the I don't know, divisions, contentions, whatever, because you have mentioned the softer touch a lot in this conversation. Mm-hmm. And so I believe that it probably might be something that in your back of your mind that you are prepared to do. At the same time, you did say that you are not certain if the other two candidates who shall shortly be announced may be female, or at least one of them. And so I want you to just give us an idea, because, if you ever sat in a boardroom with men, sometimes their passion can be as strong as women, if not stronger. And so if you are placed in that position, just give us an idea, because women need to know that the women who are voting for you need to know that you would be that stabilizing force.
Well, Laverne, it's unfortunate that sometimes egos come into play. And I'm not saying that women do not have egos as well, but you find that amongst our male counterparts, that sometimes become a sticking point, and you are stuck in a particular position, and there's a deadlock. I think if I am the lone female parliamentarian and in cabinet with my colleagues, there is a particular method whereby I can get each person to see the other person's standpoint, but show them that you don't necessarily have to trod the way in which you're going, but you have to also be able to come to a compromise. And that sometimes it's all that it wants, a compromise. And if it is, we have heads butting, trying to resolve an issue, and they don't understand that we can reach the same direction, but we just have to take tiny steps or even go through different alleyways. I think I can lead them through those alleyways and those byways. It is not always about a straight road from here to here, from point A to point B. Sometimes you want that hand to take you through the alleys, take you through the side paths, take you in the gutter and bring you back up and show you that we are going to reach the same conclusion. But we just have to be able to come to a little compromise, see things a little differently, and be able to calm down, take a breath. Sometimes people don't take that opportunity to breathe. And because you are not breathing, you are unable to see what the other person is saying. And I think I can breathe that fresh breath into my male counterparts. Sometimes that is all they need. A little female touch, a little caressing, and not physically caressing, but be able to, massage those egos. And that is all it needs. And I am convinced that having done it before in different forums, I think I am well in a position to be able to provide that same level of guidance to my colleagues in cabinet.
Thank you. And to remind you that you are listening to The Movement, and your calls will be included at 11:15. We did commit that there would be 45 minutes allocated for calls, so we hope that you are on standby to make those calls. We would shortly announce what the numbers to Win FM studios are, so that if you're overseas in the diaspora and want to participate, or if you're here locally, you can have the opportunity so to do. Before we get there, though, I just want to ask one final question, of at least from my seat for now, on the whole matter of unity. So your party has had a history of coalition when it first came into being in 1980, and now your outgoing colleagues in Parliament are also now committed to unity one more time. You have not had a seat in government yet, and so you perhaps have an outside view, if you will, from where you sit. I want you to give us your opinion on what you think PAM in unity means in a government in St. Kitts and Nevis in 2022.
Laverne, the People's Action Movement, from its inception, has always been a party that works well with others. And so when you look back at what the People's Action Movement would have done in terms of their contributions to St. Kitts and Nevis from 1980 to 1995, some of those years would have been with a coalition government, PAM NRP. The People's Action Movement is a party that believes in inclusiveness, so that all sides are equally represented and they can be able to accomplish all the necessary goals that the country ought to reach. And one would see that the People's Action Movement would have been in the forefront coming up to the 2015 elections. And there were a number of things that would have been put in place as a result of the three parties coming together. There was the Charlestown Accord, and it was a unity government, not just for the parties, but for the country, so that St. Kitts and Nevis can accomplish certain things when it comes to transparency, accountability, good governance. And although that construct is no longer together in terms of the three parties, I think the People's Action Movement still holds steadfast to those things: the accountability, the good governance, transparency. And so I believe in good governance. I believe in accountability. I believe in transparency. And I am of the view that these things could still be accomplished with the People's Action Movement and with the Concerned Citizens Movement. And so I stand by my party, and I would encourage all my colleagues to keep at the forefront country above self and ensure that the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis are first and foremost when we make decisions. And if at any point in time the citizens and the country cannot come first, then we may have to take a particular stance. But I believe that from what I have seen over the past 7 years, I believe that PAM and CCM as two movements can work together for the betterment of St. Kitts and Nevis. We have to ensure that this country moves forward after the next general elections. It cannot be the politics of yesteryear. We have to ensure that all our citizens are looked after, not just in St. Kitts, but also in Nevis. And when you hear about fair share, I'm not speaking about money, but I'm speaking about opportunities, access to opportunities, so that there is no one particular group or one particular family that has an advantage over another. And I believe that with the leadership of Sean Richards and the colleagues of the Concerned Citizens Movement, as well as our colleagues here in the People's Action Movement, we can take St. Kitts and Nevis to where we want to be. We can rid St. Kitts and Nevis of victimization. We can rid St. Kitts and Nevis of nepotism. We can move forward hand in hand and work together in unity for the better of our country. Our country deserves persons who would stand up for its citizens. Our country deserves people who would fight for everything that is good, fight for everything that is right, because we cannot go backward. We have to move forward. Not everything is going to be perfect, but once you are honest, once you are forthright and you continue to put the people first, I think we can accomplish real unity through PAM and CCM.
Thank you very much. And that perhaps is a good way for us to segue into the questions, concerns, comments, and include our callers. If you want to reach us and you're in the diaspora, the numbers are 718-285-6984 or 305-921-4619. Locally, the numbers are 466 or 662 or 762-0989. On the movement this morning, we have Natasha Grey-Brookes, the representative, or the candidate rather, of the People's Action Movement in constituency number 1 in St. Kitts. We invite your calls now, and so we have Mrs. Brooks on standby to address any concern, any suggestions that you may have for her, for the constituency. All we ask that you do, as ever, is to remain respectful and pay attention to the rules of the radio station. So we invite your comments now, if you want to do so via the telephone. Do we have any calls yet? We don't have any calls yet, but we are reminding you that, in fact, you can call and address some of your concerns with Ms. Brooks. In the meantime, I want to ask Mrs. Brooks, Shani, what are some of the key characteristics that you think a modern-day politician ought to have? Is trust even something anymore in politics?
Laverne, you have to speak and convince people, not just by your words, but by
we have a call? I'm sorry, Shani, could you hold that thought?
No problem.
And we welcome the first call and say good morning. You're on the movement.
Yes, good morning
Good morning.
to you two beautiful ladies there.
Good morning.
The question I have for you is Frigate Bay, the north of Frigate Bay. What do you call that area there when you're going north?
Half
You
Moon?
go over into the Frigate Bay, and the north side, when you pass this first roundabout, you're going north. What do you call that area?
Half Moon Bay.
Half Moon, yes. I think that the Half Moon Bay area was neglected. Because I used to go over there, and the roads and them need badly some attention. The grass and most of the roads and them was coming over in the street. So I believe that that's one of the areas that you, Miss Gray, should, you're not going to give your attention to just one area alone, but I believe that area there needs some looking after. So I just thought we should just mention that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that contribution.
I want to thank you, Carla, as well, because I believe that all areas should be properly maintained. And so I know there is the Frigate Bay Development Corporation. And even if I am not the minister is responsible for public infrastructure, public and roads, I would also wish to encourage whoever that minister would be, and also the minister responsible for Frigate Bay Development, to work closely with each other to ensure that the integrity of the development is maintained. And it also would not just, ensure that we have a well-kept area, but it would also ensure that the citizens and those who live in that area are provided a safe community to live in. I know the Half Moon area, most of it is in constituency number 8. However, some persons still view it as Frigate Bay. And so whatever I can do to ensure that those areas are properly maintained, I will do, and I will continue to agitate for persons in that area to ensure that they are properly looked after. And thanks for that contribution. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And so to get back to the whole question of the key characteristics of a modern-day political candidate, it's especially on the whole issue of a trustworthy candidate.
Yes, I was saying you don't just have to convince people by talking, but you have to walk the walk. And so people look to candidates for hope. They look for somebody who they can trust. And I believe in being forthright with persons. I believe in being honest. If there is something that you can do or have if there's something that you have in mind in terms of the development of your constituency or the persons living in that constituency, be honest, be transparent, be forthright with all the information. If at any point in time you have challenges, don't run away from communicating, because communication is key. And when persons see you dodging away from them, they begin to question your motives, and they begin to wonder, what you're really all about. If you experience challenges, and this is me, if I am experiencing a challenge in any particular area or anything that I would have said that I was going to deliver on, I would make sure that I communicate and say what the challenges I am facing, why this project is unable to be completed, why I'm unable to deliver on a particular promise. I believe that we must always engage our constituents so that they understand that you are someone who is trying to look out for their best interest, but you must always be principled in whatever you do, because once you slip, then the issue of trust starts to develop in their mind, and I don't want to ever fall in that category at all.
Thank you. There's a caller who we must indulge now. So, caller, good morning and welcome to the movement.
Good morning, Shani, and good morning to the movement.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Now, I have an issue. Now, the young men in my neighborhood have been engaged in agriculture. And, of course, all the parties and the people come up my road, walk around Neverson Street East to go to James Street or Neverson West, and see the condition at the back of my house. Now, I have complained to the health department, whatever. The young men were promised that they would be given some land by the agriculture department. That's since 2015, eh? And up to now, it hasn't happened. So it has left me in a state where when I try to sleep, my sleep is disturbed and everything. I'm not angry with the young men for trying to do something productive. But I think it is way too long. They have been waiting. Shani has seen, Dr. Harris has seen, all those who come around my street. Jeffrey has seen the condition. That lot of land is government owned, not privately owned. It was used for my brother Connor for his Sunday school for years. And after the increase in gunfight and gang activity, they had to move. And it was overtaken, and we gone from bad to worse.
So, Carly, you're saying that the land is overrun with bushes and all of that? That's what you're saying?
No, Shani. Shani has seen it.
No, but for the benefit of those of us who are listening,
what happened, they're raising different kind of birds, right?
Uh-huh.
So they have built cages.
Okay.
Extensive.
Mm-hmm.
Turkey, duck, rabbit. I mean, you name it. Now, it looks very exotic, you understand?
Yes.
Peacock. But the trouble is, it disturbs my sleep.
Mm.
And it is unsanitary. Not that they don't clean it, you know. But according to the health department law, there should not be any farm in any residential areas. But if you promise, if you or anybody really serious about it, something would have been done a long time ago. So I am asking you, Shani, because you have seen it. You know what I'm talking about. You could explain to them.
Thank you. Thank you, caller.
Some land must be found, some place where the young men can be productive without being a disturbance. It has devalued my house, disturb my peace, and make the area look run down. So, Shani, I expect you, if you get in, if Jeffrey get in, whoever get in, I demand action. All right, then.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that to the candidate's attention. Is there another caller? So we'll have candidate Shani address that issue where she said the caller is saying that the conditions under which a farm is being... There's a caller, so let's just take a note of that and address this caller now. Good morning, caller, and welcome to the movement.
Yes, hi, morning. This is Christine McEachran from Frigate Bay. I'm the president of the Royal Sinkers Golf Club.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just like to know what will be done with the golf club, the golf course, should I say, because it is in really not a very good state of repair. And, we've been promised, and the golf course used to be beautiful. I mean, people came from all over the place to play on this golf course. And unfortunately, it is now the way it is. I know we're in a drought, but, the water is used from the ponds, so if the irrigation is put in and all that. But something really needs to be done about that. And I would like to know if Shani gets in, if, something will be done about it, because I think that's, for golfers, that is a really main issue right now. Well, I mean, apart from lots of other things, but for us, that's a very big issue.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just like to know, what would be done.
Thank you for your question, caller. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right.
We'll have the candidate address it. There's another caller. So there are two questions on the table. The one about the setup in Newtown, and the other one about the state of the golf course in Frigate Bay.
As it relates to the situation at Neverson Street, I would have seen the area on a number of occasions, and I would have also heard the concerns by Lady Henry. And so I am strongly encouraging the residents and those who have the area set up, if they have not yet sent in an application, please do so, because sometimes, even though a promise would have been made, let us just make things formalized. I would ask them to submit an application for the necessary land as it relates to carrying out their farming activities, so that the considerations would be given to not just being allocated an area to develop that farming activity, but one that would encourage them to carry on their business and expand if necessary. I do believe that the setup that they have is one that can also provide our tourists with some sort of activities to be involved in, because as Ms. Henry would have indicated, there are a number of there are peacocks, there are doves, there are ducks, you have turtles, and so there is some opportunity for not just the farming activity, but for some improvements in our tourism sector. So I would encourage them to send in the necessary application, and that is something that I would want to promote, because they are young guys who are trying to make a better living for themselves and who are trying to improve their lives. And I would not want, whilst they are doing so, that it is a detriment to the other residents. So that is something that I would promote and ensure that the opportunities are provided to improve our tourism sector, to improve the lives of the constituents of East Bastia, and to also ensure that whilst that is being done, it doesn't create a health hazard. In relation to the golf course on Frigate Bay, I've heard a number of concerns about the golf course, and so in fact, I would have had some of the constituents explain to me that we had one of the best golf courses in the region, and I was even offered to start playing golf, and in that light, I may have a better appreciation of what the golf course should be like. I believe that it should be properly maintained. I believe that there should be restrictions as it relates to access, so that there are no challenges for persons who want to carry out the sporting activity, so that the golfers would be able to not just enjoy an activity for themselves, but it can be a welcoming a welcoming golf course for persons regionally and internationally. And so I would have the necessary dialogue with the relevant stakeholders to ensure that we maintain the proper standard of the golf course, and if needs be, and persons who carry on their exercise we would have to find some other avenue to facilitate them that doesn't affect the golfers. Then we would have to ensure that persons are given the necessary areas and opportunities to carry out their exercising, but it must not affect our golf course. And so, Mrs. McCracken, I've heard your concerns. I would like to engage you some more in terms of some of the challenges that you face. And if it is, there is an association as it relates to your golfing that you would want to meet with me and any of my other colleagues, I welcome that opportunity, because who best would know what you would require as a golfer but than yourself. And so I look forward to the opportunity whereby I can engage you and look at how best we can ensure that the golf course is maintained and maintained to the requisite standard.
Thank you. Thank you for those two responses. We are still taking your calls. This is The Movement, a 2-hour show organized by the People's Action Movement in preparation for the upcoming general elections, federal elections in St. Kitts and Nevis. And this platform is being utilized to provide you, the listeners, wherever you are, whether you are at home or abroad, to interact with the candidates via the phone, via your questions, via your concerns. And so we await your calls. We actually have a call now, and so we say good morning and welcome to The Movement.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. It is somewhat ironic that at your launch, Miss Gray, or Mrs. Gray, when your party launched you as a candidate, your party leader was asked a question about the good governance agenda, which she dismissed as of no moment then, as it was your launching, and the questions, I guess, should have been about that, your candidacy. One wonders if, given the way things have unfolded since then, if you thought it was a mistake to kick that can down the road. Now, as a constituent of number one, I would like to hear from you as to how much of a priority is that good governance agenda for you. I mean, you have been intimately involved in your party's operations. What guarantee can you give us that you will not be just a rubber stamp of the entrenched leadership who obviously did not think it that important, okay? They themselves have intimated that serious mistakes have been made, or missteps in this area. But what is to prevent you from just being in the same mold as the others? Secondly, you mentioned that women bring a softer touch to politics. What exactly does that mean? If you're going to represent a constituency as diverse as number one, as Laverne said, aren't you expected to be forceful and impactful in your representation, right? We don't want timid representation who will back down in the face of more aggressive ministers. And finally, I welcome your idea of more inclusivity and consultation through, what did you call them, community councils or something?
Yes.
Something along that line. But we've been hearing about this for years, yet we have projects springing up all over the place, and not just constituency number one, throughout the country, without the residents in the area being adequately informed or consulted. What would you do to change that? Okay, because I know, for instance, there have been consultations in terms of some projects, but these are sporadic, right? There's no, apparently it's pretty much a hit and miss kind of thing. What will you do to institutionalize that so that residents don't get up one morning and see a project appearing before them or groundbreaking, and that's the first they've heard of it? Okay, so those essentially are my questions.
Thank you very much, as usual, for your input, caller. Is there another call? Okay, so we're going to have candidate Chani address those three questions. The one of good governance and how much of a priority is good governance in your view. What does softer touch mean in a diverse constituency as number one? He's looking for, I guess, a little bit more passion and aggression. And the last question that had to do with the work of a council or councillors in relation to community projects and the need to involve the community members.
Okay, thank you, Carla, for your questions and your concerns. Now, in relation to good governance, I do recognize that at the point when the issue was addressed at my candidate announcement in October, the press conference at that particular point in time was specific to my announcement. And so I would have understood at that point in time why my political leader would have deferred any questions as it relates to good governance. However, good governance is something that he has always intimated and that has always been at the forefront of the People's Action Movement. Now, as an individual, I promote good governance because without that, then we will be basically carrying the country down a road and down a path that we do not want. I would agitate for any issues when it comes to good governance, transparency, accountability, freedom of information, because I think the public deserves that type of governance. The country deserves persons who represent them, not just to carry out things willy-nilly. There must be an aspect of transparency. There must be an aspect of accountability. And so, just like how one of my colleagues, Mr. Grant, Lindsay Grant, would have disclosed some of his assets in relation to him and his family some years back. In fact, the other day on the political platform, my political leader would have done something similar. I am someone who would encourage my other colleagues, and including myself, to put forward to the country what it is that we have, so that there is no issue and questions of corruption, because I believe in good governance. It is high on my priority list. And so, Carla, it is not just me saying this, but it is something that I would agitate for in the first 100 days of government, because we have campaigned on this issue. There has been some issues of good governance displayed in the past 7 years. However, there are a number of things to be completed, and I think the time is ripe for these things to be completed. And I would encourage my leader and my colleagues, and not just encourage them, but I would continuously agitate for these things to be completed within a particular time frame. And so, having had your call and the fact that this is something that needs to be dealt with and dealt with as a matter of urgency, I would have the necessary conversation with my party leader and my colleagues, so that we are in a position to deal with these issues within the first 3 months or 100 days of forming the government. The other issue of being
softer touch.
Now, when I say a softer touch, I don't mean that I am going to be timid and afraid to address issues and afraid to put my position forward. Not at all. Not at all. I did not mean that I am going to shy away and try to, rubber stamp anything and let anybody no, that is not Natasha Grey at all, at all, at all. Natasha Grey fights for what she believes in. She fights for the people. My very profession is one that is I am a defense attorney, and so I always advocate for the rights of others. I always ensure that persons' rights are protected, and so me saying that being a female and having the softer side, it is not in relation to the outcome, but it is an avenue to get egos, to remove egos from the picture, so that we can promote the development of our country and we can promote the interests of our citizens. So rest assured that by having a softer touch, that doesn't mean that Natasha Grey or Natasha Grey-Brookes will be any rubber stamp for any. I am. That is not what I am about, because I can be very forceful. I always stand up for what I believe in, and I will fight to the very end, tooth and nail. So, caller, if you have any concerns, please do not have those concerns. And I welcome the opportunity for you to meet me one-on-one. The voice sounds very familiar, but I don't want to call the name just in case I have the wrong person. But I welcome the opportunity for us to speak one-on-one, and I can show you and I can indicate to you some of the things that I can do, and I have different avenues and different mechanisms in relation to having those things done without having to. It's not who shouts the hardest. It's the end result. It is not who shouts the hardest. I think you asked something else about consultation.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
Yes. I believe in inclusiveness. And so it is not just about forcing something up down somebody's throat. The community must be consulted in relation to projects that impact their daily lives and things that would have some sort of impact on the economy. And I believe that the best way to do that is through consultation. And so one would have to relook the manner in which these consultative efforts take place, so that there is a guiding principle or policy that would ensure that the community is involved before any sign comes up, before contracts are entered into, so that you can see that this is something that is transparent and the government is being held accountable for the things that they are carrying out, and so that the country has a better understanding as to why certain projects are being carried out, has a better understanding as to why certain policies are being implemented, so that when you speak with authority, and you can have your facts to back you up. You can substantiate what you're saying. And I want persons to get accustomed of being consulted. Don't say that the government is to heg and people trying to get in your business. Get accustomed. I think we ought to set that benchmark whereby the community gets involved regularly. That is something that I want to see happening more often. I would ensure that from where I stand, that is echoed from the walls of the cabinet, and so that my constituents are properly represented. And it is known that Natasha Grey-Brookes has always been one who promotes consultation, who always wants to ensure that the people are in the know, so that they are not just forced with something, and they always have the opportunity to be involved and have their say. Because I think this is a democratic society, and we ought to be more inclusive in our approach and not dictatorial. So I want to encourage you, caller, to find that time to meet with me, and I welcome your ideas. I welcome your thoughts and your suggestions, because I don't think I have the monopoly on ideas. I am not one who thinks I know it all. And so even if we are of different political persuasions, I think that we have the country's interest at heart, and we can have that conversation. So I look forward to meeting with you very shortly.
Thank you. Thank you for those responses. Do we have any more callers? There's a caller on the line. Good morning and welcome to the movement. Hello.
Yes. Just one quick question. What is candidate Gray position on the building of the Basti High School and the solar farm that close to the well field of the aquifer, which provides, I think, much of our fresh water supply in her constituency or intended constituency? What exactly is your position on this?
Thank you, caller. Thank you for that question. Do we have any more callers? So we'll address that question now.
Yes, thank you, caller. As it relates to the solar farm and the Bastia High School building close to the aquifer, now, one has to be properly informed in relation to the technical advice as it relates to these projects. Now, I know that there are some assessments that were carried out in relation to these projects, and so on a proper read through of all the assessments, because this is something that was raised with me, and I must admit it was raised with me on Thursday of last week by a constituent. I started my research in relation to the assessment for the Bastia High School, and I would want to complete that research so that I can give a position as it relates to the present location for the building of the Bastia High School. I know the old Bastia High School is currently in a state of disrepair. There were concerns in terms of persons getting ill and a number of health challenges that persons were faced with as to why we are where we are at today. However, the technical advice on the building of the Bastia High School and the solar farm is something that I would have to rely heavily on, as I would not be someone seized with that information based on the nature of my profession. And so I would be in a position to put my position forward, I would say, by the end of this week, after I would have completed the full reading of the assessment.
Thank you. Thank you for that response. I'm not sure if we have any more callers, but I'm reminding you that your calls are included on this program. And again, I'll share the numbers. Locally, you can call 466-662 or 762-0989. So the prefixes again are 466-662 and 762-0989. If you are abroad and want to join in the conversation, which we're quite welcome, the numbers are 718-285-6984 or 305-921-4619. There is a caller now, so we go back to the lines. Good morning and welcome to the movement. Or that person got a little impatient, I guess. Mm-hmm. And so there's another one. Good morning. Welcome to the movement.
Yes, good morning, Miss Keynes and Miss Natasha Gray.
Good morning.
Yes. You go to the school, right? And I don't know when they said the school had a problem if you used to go up and examine it. But I don't believe the school got such a heavy problem, you know. The school need to clean up and use again. The Bastia High School, nothing do it. How no hurricane come and mash up nothing in it? It just was for all gaining of politics, power. Nothing to the school. You all need to get on Mr. Timothy, because you all giving him this power like he's some macho man in this place, you know. And that get me mad, you know. You all these lawyers and doctor, you all need to go and tell the man him, I got to call him 20 times a day and say, man, you can't do this thing. Here, do not boil under aquifer, because, but God forbid, you know, he live in the country, you know, he go get real source water from down Taba Mountain, you know. Be in tongue. It's to water, and so we're going to be getting. When the thing they go wrong, you hear him good. I don't even know he got good, what I call them, the people, engineer to do up the thing, do you? The man just going to blame me about the thinking.
Okay, ma'am. So your concern is that the old Bassi High School could perhaps be looked into again. We got that. Okay.
I want to leave that there. My children I'm going to die and leave that there.
We got that. We got that. Anything else? Anything else specific to constituency number 1 you want to share?
About Half Moon Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Need to really go around there and look at it, because one time I went around there, right driving, and I noticed this catcher tree right over in the road.
Okay.
You see all this money they're paying out, nobody's seeing that the work done. They have so much workers on the road every day.
We had a caller who addressed that, and candidate Shani gave a commitment to see what she can do to look into that.
You need to look into what Miss Roshini Henry said too. Because what happened to a lot of young men, right? You just have this kind of attitude, oh, I believe in this man. That is how I want it to be. Then understand when they have this kind of animal around, they is seeking, they're getting other people sick. Because after a while, they drive everything up the mountain. They told them, go up the mountain and look for peace and carry the farm there.
Oh, you know about the matter, caller?
Hello?
You seem to know about the matter.
Yes.
Okay.
I used to go around there at one time. I go and walk around there, and I heard Mr.
Okay. Well, we thank you so much for supporting that supporting Mrs. Henry call to get the enterprise relocated.
Paying in too much money, Miss Keynes, out for nothing, and made to the place to clean up.
Okay.
When you go in tongues and part of the tongue, you know what, clean up the other day because Miss Keynes, because of politics coming up, down there by Kurigot.
Okay.
I need to go back a bobcat to clean it every 2 or 3 months.
Okay.
I get corrosive and so.
Well, but it's just that is not in her constituency, though.
Hello?
That area is not in her constituency. Anything specific you want to address in that constituency?
Yeah, no, I just telling you what I said on the other day, because the election coming and he went there and tried to clean it up. It clean now. How long you won't get clean?
Well, we shall see. We shall see. At least it is clean. Thank you so much for your input, caller. We truly appreciate it. And so we want to accommodate as many callers as we can in the next 7 minutes that we have left. Is there any more call? There's no more call. I don't know if candidate Shani wants to address anything that... There's a call now. Good morning and welcome to the movement.
Good morning, greetings.
Greetings.
And blessed joy to you, Shani, and your moderator who's in the program with you today.
Morning.
Just a question there. We've seen in the football arena of Newton, you have any indication of seeing how the development of the program, for what you know, coming up as a young girl to lawyer see now, we were able to spend any time to see that the young youth are able to know how the growth of the football in Newton really developed from being a candidate prior to the East Bastia.
Okay, Sheila, you have another question because she'll address all at once. So you want to share anything else outside of this?
I would like to ask you, and what your view when it comes to the hobby, the use of ganja in St. Kitts and Nevis, being a fresh candidate selected to be representing the PAM party?
Thank you. Good questions. Great questions. Thank you for them. So he wants you to say, what are your feelings on the current strength of the football team compared to teams in the past, and about the whole issue of marijuana, if there is any views in particular your party has espoused on this important matter.
Thank you, caller, for your questions. In relation to...
There's a call that will squeeze in very quickly. If you could make if you could ask a question in A couple seconds, please. Good morning.
Good morning. You see, I have some of your callers on the ear, Anyway, my question, Shani, I'm so impressed with you. Continue doing what you're doing. And don't let anybody come here and upset you in no way. You be the woman that you are. Don't go down to nobody level. When you're campaigning, deal with the issues and personality. Boy.
Thank you. Thank you for that input.
Okay, I want to thank you for that. Those sound words of advice. I really do appreciate it, and I would ensure that I live up to what you have said. In relation to the caller before you, who spoke about the football arena in Newtown. Now, growing up, I have always known Newtown to be the Newtown football team to have been one of the best football teams in Warner Park. And so even though we are not we are not currently the winners of the Premier League, I think that we have always been a proud community, and we need to continue to encourage that by sports education, by ensuring that our youngsters, they have the necessary facilities, not just in school, but outside of school, to be able to grow themselves and to also improve the sport. And I think we should always capitalize upon past football players, even if they're not here in St. Kitts. So persons like Keith Kayamba Gums, and so we have persons who would have been helping, like Tini Percival, who have contributed to our football community, and we would also want to have opportunities for them to engage the youngsters so that we can build a more robust and vibrant football team in East Bastia. I know that many persons have encouraged their youth to come to a number of academies on Saturday, sporting academies. So I know that football is something that persons would want to continue to see grow in East Bastia. I also would also want to let you know that in relation to the marijuana, it is something that is still very much high in society in terms of the discussion. The discussion is something that we always want to continue. The cannabis industry is something that we want to sensitize our nation on, so that when and if we carry on that industry in our society, it is something that benefits not just individuals, but it is something that can boost our economy and also have health benefits. And so I don't want to put my own individual approach in relation to marijuana out there. I would want to have a collective discussion with my team in terms of the party's position, and I'm quite certain that would be forthcoming in our manifesto. And so I thank you. I look forward to the opportunity to meeting with you and having your ideas, because I know that you're very vocal when it comes to the issue of marijuana. I want to thank all the callers. I think Bernice would have been one who spoke about the cleaning up of the areas, and I believe a nation that continues to ensure that the health is utmost and foremost in the minds of the not just the politicians but the individuals. I think once we ensure that our communities are clean, we will have a healthier nation. And so even though I know you spoke to areas outside of East Bastia, I promote cleaner communities and safer communities. And I would encourage my colleagues to ensure that their communities are also maintained to a proper standard. I want to thank all the callers that called in today for the movement. I want to thank those who would have given me sound words of advice, because I am not someone who knows it all. I always try to take the sound advice of others and constructive criticism. I believe in persons sharing their views and opinion because it's not all about me. I want to thank my constituents for meeting with me, welcome me into your homes, welcome me into your hearts, because I know that after the next general election, the East Bastia seat would be won by Natasha Grey-Brookes. It is one that will not just be won by me, but it will be won for the people. It is one that would create a better East Bastia, a thriving East Bastia, a constituency that all other constituencies would want to pattern off of. And I look forward to your support. I look forward to your continued advice. And I also look forward to celebrating with you after the next general election. I want you to stay the course, and I ask my constituents who have been working with me, my campaign team, to continue to meet our people, because at the end of it, this is a victory that would not just be for East Bastia. We will win a victory for St. Kitts and Nevis, because we are on the way to a brighter and better future. I want to thank you and have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Candidate Shani, and thank you for appearing on this 2-hour program organized by the People's Action Movement called The Movement. We thank the callers, as you said, for engaging you, and we want to remind our listeners and viewers that we're back here next Tuesday at 10 to 12, and on that particular broadcast, we would have the candidate Jonelle Powell of constituency number 2. So we're asking you to stay tuned then, and until then, we want you to take good care of yourselves, and we'll see you again next Tuesday. Have a very good afternoon.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the participant or caller and do not reflect the views of WinFM 98.9. WinFM reserves the right to disconnect any caller who infringes the law or offends the right of any person. The station will also refuse to take any call from any person who, in WinFM's considered opinion, is likely to expose the station to liability for statements made on the air.
You found the sound. 98.9. Win.